57 and 142. So if you want to read those, connect those dots, it'd be good to do. Psalm 57 and 142. Now, so David seems to be in the clear, right? He's got his army. He's got his men. He's pretty safe within his own country. He's building up arms. He's building up strength. But we have this little issue of David's disobedience that we still got to deal with. We get this teeny little bitty tiny little lie that he told back to the priest at Nob. It was, think of it. David's like, okay, this is not a big deal. If I tell the priest the truth on this, I'm going to get captured. And that would be bad, right? So I need to maybe trying to gray the issue. I don't know what he would justify it as, but now I need to say something to kind of get out of this little predicament, to get out of this situation. And so we've got to deal with this because some repercussions come his way. Let's go to verse 6. Now Saul heard that David and his men had been discovered. And Saul, spear in hand, just in case there's a problem, need to throw at somebody. Saul, spear in hand, was seated under the tamarisk tree on the hill at Gibeah. And with all his officials standing around him, Saul said to him, "Listen, men of Benjamin, will the son of Jesse give all of you fields and vineyards?" And there may have been some people in the crowd, no, whatever. "Will he make all of you commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds?" Probably, but we'll say no anyway. Verse 8, "Is that why you have all conspired against me?" And so he's starting to get a little paranoid here. "No one tells me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. None of you is concerned about me or tells me that my son has incited my servant to lie in wait for me as he does today." So he's paranoid. He's trying to gain sympathy from his men. He's trying to rouse his men up to support him. His men just don't want to. And 9, re-enter Doeg. But Doeg the Edomite, who was standing with Saul's officials, said, "I saw the son of Jesse come to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, at Nob. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him. He also gave him provisions and the sword of Goliath the Philistine." And so Doug's feeling all proud about himself that he ratted out David. Verse 11, "Then the king sent for the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, and his father's whole family, who were the priests at Nob. They all came to the king. Saul said, 'Listen now, son of Ahitub.' 'Yes, my lord,' he answered. Saul said to him, 'Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse, giving him bread and a sword and inquiring of God for him, so that he has rebelled against me and lies in wait for me as he does today?' And Ahimelech answered the king, 'Who of all your servants is as loyal as David, the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard, and highly respected in your household?' See, he doesn't know the big rift. He doesn't know David's a fugitive. He's like, 'Well, I thought you guys were buds. What's up? I thought you guys were like tight. I thought he was a big national celebrity.'" Verse 22. No, sorry. 15. Was that day the first time I inquired of God for him? Of course not. Let not the king accuse your servant of any of his father's family, for your servant knows nothing at all about this whole affair. He says, "I don't know what's going on. Listen, when he came to me, I thought he was still a good guy. I didn't know he turned evil or whatever you said he'd done. I don't know. I didn't know any of this. I was just helping out someone who I thought really needed help." But the king said, verse 16, "You will surely die, Ahimelech, you and your father's whole family." Then the king ordered the guards at his side, "Turn and kill the priest of the Lord, because they too have sided with David. They knew he was fleeing, yet they did not tell me." But the king's officials, who, they're kind of partial to David, king's officials were not willing to raise a hand to strike the priest of the Lord. Then the king ordered Doeg, "You turn and strike down the priests." So Doeg the Edomite turned and struck them down. Listen to this. That day he killed 85 men who wore the linen ephod. 85 of God's anointed priests. He also put to the sword Nob, the town of the priests. The entire town, with its men and women, its children and infants, and not only them, and its cattle, donkeys and sheep. Saul orders the slaughter of the entire town of Nob because of David's little white lie. Saul's sin, and first of all, we'll look at Saul first. His sin multiplies. As he becomes more and more obsessed with killing David, his sins, it's like a snowball effect. It just gradually, as he's going down that hill, it just picks up more snow. And it's just more stuff happens. In the same way that those who reject Christ undergo a progressive enslavement to sin. In the same way that we turn from Christ and say, no, I'm going to do it my way, and we give ourselves to sin, the same way Saul gave himself to sin, we become progressively enslaved by that sin. And it compounds on itself. And it builds into a snowball where one day we're out of control. Verse 20. But Abiathar, a son of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, escaped and fled to David. So this little boy escapes this massacre. I don't know if he was too fast to run from a guard's trying to kill him or whatever it was. He escaped. Probably the only guy that escapes. Verse 21, he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. Then David said to Abiathar, that day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, I knew he would be sure to tell Saul. He knew it. He was there that day, and he saw Doeg. He saw Doeg off in the corner, kind of looking, and is that David? And he said, oh, this is not going to be good. Middle of verse 22. I am responsible for the death of your father's whole family. He had to look that little boy in the eye and say that he was responsible for the death of your father's whole family. Verse 23, he tries to make it right. Stay with me. Don't be afraid. The man who is seeking your life is seeking mine also. You will be safe with me. David learned the hard way, and this is the lesson 5, if you want to write this in your note, that sin affects not only the person who sins, but everyone around him. Big sin, little sin, teeny tiny little sin, whatever it may be, sin affects not only you as a person, but everyone around you, your relationships. Every single person it affects. The smallest of sin. It is a lesson that we must learn, that there are greater consequences to our sin than what we can see. We think we get away with it. We think no one will know. There are greater consequences that we will never see, that have repercussions all around us, that we don't connect the dots and say, oh, that happened because this happened because that happened. Even our secret sins, stuff no one knows about, the stuff that it won't hurt anybody, even those secret sins that we call quirks, personality quirks, that's what we like to call them. They have greater consequences than we will ever see. Men, your anger, your lust, your laziness has more. It not only affects you, but it affects everybody around you. Ladies, your jealousy, gossip, slander, whatever it may be for you that you struggle with and deal with, not only affects you, but it affects everyone around you. Teenagers, your disobedience to your parents, your attitude problems, your rebellion against authority, whatever it may be, affects not only you, but it affects every single person around you. That is a lesson that we must learn. Listen, as Christians, we are forgiven.